We got. It must be exhausting, like, talking in such a low voice. Is it?
No, it comes natural.
Okay.
To some of us people with low voices. Olivia Rodrigo.
Vampire.
Hate to give the satisfaction asking how you're doing now. How's the castle built of people you pretend to care about? Just what you wanted. Look at you, cool guy, you got it. I see the parties and diamonds. Sometimes when I close my eyes, 6 months of torture you sold to some forbidden paradise. I loved you truly. You gotta laugh at the stupidity, 'cause I've made some real big mistakes, but you make the worst one look fine. I should have known it was strange. You only come out at night. I used to think I was smart, but you made me look so naive. The way you sold me for parts as you sunk your teeth into me. Bloodsucker, fame fucker, bleeding me dry like a goddamn vampire. Every girl I ever talked to told me you were bad news. You called them crazy. God, I hate the way I called them crazy too. You're so convincing. How do you lie without flinching? Ooh, what a mesmerizing, paralyzing, fucked up little thrill. Can't figure out just how you do it, and God knows I never will. And for me and not her, 'cause girls your age know better. I've made some real big mistakes, but you make the worst one look fine. I should have known it was strange. You only come out at night. I used to think I was smart, but you made me look so naive. The way you sold me for parts as you sunk your teeth into me. Bloodsucker, fame fucker, bleeding me dry like a goddamn vampire. You said it was true love, but wouldn't that be hard? You can't love anyone, 'cause that would mean you had a heart. I tried to help you out, now I know that I can't, 'cause how you think's the kind of thing I'll never understand. I've made some real big mistakes, but you make the worst one look fine. I should have known it was strange. You only come out at night. I used to think I was smart, but you made me look so naive. The way you sold me for parts as you sunk your teeth into me. Bloodsucker, fame fucker, bleeding me dry like a goddamn vampire.
Wow, where do we begin, right? First of all, I love vampires. Like, every movie about vampires, it's like one of those storylines that it's the same concept, but I love it all the time because there's so many layers to it. Like, first of all, when it comes to like a vampire versus a human, like you can look at that like something that's more relatable, where it's two people that aren't supposed to be together, but for some reason they're drawn to each other, and it's this concept of willpower and, you know, love versus fill in the blank. I can't figure out like the perfect word for it, but like within this song there's so many different ways of looking at it. You know, I couldn't help but see this relating to her career. And you know, when you see the music video in the beginning, you can't tell that she's on a stage. And so when they kind of zoom out and you realize she's on the stage, and then she gets hurt by, you know, the spotlight. I don't know if there's like an actual terminology for that light specifically, but it kind of looked like she was in the spotlight and then she got hurt from it, and no one was really helping her. And so it wasn't until she stood up and started singing, they started clapping. So for me, it kind of looked like they were applauding her for getting hurt, but then standing up for herself. I don't know. It's very interesting. There's so much to the lyrics itself. You know, there's clearly this very strong feeling that she has toward whoever she's singing about. I couldn't help but feel almost like hatred. Like I sense like hatred, or maybe just it's just like anger. And then vampire, the idea of someone like sucking you at your neck, like it's your most vulnerable, but still relating to the concept of vampire. I thought it was very fitting.
Yeah, I agree with that. And vampire, like using a vampire as an analogy towards someone that you have negative feelings towards makes a lot of sense, because there's a couple elements to vampires that can really resonate with a human being that's like bad to you. You know, like one element obviously is like they're obviously predators, right? And she also speaks about like how they only come out at night, and obviously like the reason why they use the reference of night, or the reason why they attack at night. It's like any other criminal behavior, right? You don't do anything in broad daylight because there's too many people around. There's something about the dark where you can kind of lurk in the shadows, and it's why children are typically scared of monsters at night, because you can't see anything. Things are more obscure and obviously more scary because there's a factor of not seeing this person coming. And I think that's a part of why she uses it as an analogy, because this person, like, she didn't see this person coming, but also it's because vampires typically, and it's a component that people don't really talk about or see all the time in every vampire movie, it's the element of seduction, right? A vampire, Dracula specifically, can be very seductive, right? They can actually hypnotize you. They can look into your eyes, kind of like the not a Medusa effect, like you're not going to be frozen, but it can be seductive to the point where they get you to do what they want you to do, kind of like a siren. I think is what it's called, siren. But
When they sing.
Yeah, but they use singing. But anyway, they just have this element of being able to seduce you, and that's why you see in a lot of these vampire movies, the vampire's able to. He doesn't have to force himself upon you all the time. He can actually seduce you, get you to do what he wants. You know, and so you see some of these romantic vampire movies like play out like that, like Twilight, for instance, to the point where like, oh my God, like I want to be a vampire too. So I think that's one element. It's like the seduction element. She said she was naive. And so obviously she was also manipulated. you know, she was probably manipulated through seduction, through words, through flattery. And I think that's what she's alluding to also. It was like this element of like she was being tricked and she was being misled by someone that maybe she potentially trusted even prior to realizing who that person really was.
I thought there was like an interesting line where she kind of touches on age. I don't know if you saw that. Can you scroll down? By the way, I thought it was funny how she rhymed bloodsucker, fame fucker, vampire. There was like a line about age. But even the line where she says, "The way you sold me for parts," oh my goodness. Like what it makes me think of are just like like a junk car, right? Like you sell a car for parts because it's more expensive that way. Like you sell each car part individually. And then if you relate it to like a person, there's certain parts of a person that's a lot more like when you think of the idea of a human and how their parts are more valuable, like I instantly think of like when someone like gives away their kidney, like that's life-changing, right? And so it has higher value than, let's say, when someone like donates their hair. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like very like off the topic, but you know, she's being sold for parts. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I think the way I see it is, you know, when she's saying that she's being sold for parts, she's basically being objectified. She's being treated as an object, right? And when you treat someone as an object, you're using a part of them that you're able to basically get something out of, right? So with her, she's being used for her talent. She's being used for her voice. She's being used for her creative abilities. And that's the part of her that's being sold. And I think that's what she's talking about.
But then if you connect it to this whole theme of vampire, like vampires for some reason always bite at the neck. I don't know why.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the song was really good. Like, even if you take it apart, like, well, not line by line, but certain sections at a time.
Yeah, it just ends up being poetry. I wonder if she wrote this.
See, like, I should have known it was strange, only come out at night, which indicates, like she did have an inkling to what this person was capable of.
Yeah.
You know, but they were kind of like hiding in the shadows. You didn't, right? And it kind of alludes to also like the person's shadow side. Like everybody has a shadow side. Like there's this dark part in them, but typically we're very good at suppressing it or hiding it, especially when we're trying to get something out of somebody.
Oh, there it is, where it says, "Went for me and not her, 'cause girls your age know better." Like, to me, I already feel like the person that she's talking about is, what I'm guessing, older than her.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's implying that she was naive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of like the element of what predators do, right? When you take advantage of someone, it's always easier to do it to someone who's young, because being young is usually paired with being naive. And that's not always the case, obviously. But if you're young, you don't have a lot of experiences. And when you don't have a lot of experiences, chances are you haven't encountered anyone who's capable of taking advantage of you until you have. Mm-hmm. And then that one experience will show you, like, there are some people out there that will not only take advantage, they'll manipulate you, they'll gaslight you, they'll make you look like you're crazy. And all of it is just a mind fuck, really. You know, it's the ability to shift someone's interpretation and make you look like you're not doing anything wrong when you actually are doing a lot of things wrong. So I didn't see like a whole album for Rodrigo for Guts. I only seen this one video. So there's
Oh
like an
my
album.
guts. Oh my god. I love that she's using that as a theme. I love the sound of it too. Like the way she sings, it's kind of like she's talking to you directly. It's kind of like a whisper. It's very personal. Like this song sounded very personal. And most of her songs actually sound very personal. Like she's actually gone through it. And she's still kind of like living through this trauma or pain. Yeah, I wonder if she's like a fan of Twilight. Did you like Twilight?
It was okay. Yeah, you can't go wrong with a vampire werewolf love triangle, right? Like you just can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I guess it was a love triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely has a very like distinct sound, and I think that's so cool because it's not typical.
Yeah, and side note, I like how the song shifts halfway through, right?
Yeah.
It starts to really pick up, and then even though it's still the same song, it's a different feel to the song, and so it's good because it also you have like that contrast. Because for me, it started off really slow, and then when it picks up, it starts to really grip you.
Mm-hmm. What I thought was odd was toward like the end of the music video, she's on the stage and then these cops show up and they're like kind of waiting for something to happen so that they can either like arrest her or grab her. Like you noticed that? Like they were keeping like a very close distance, almost like waiting for something to happen. And then she felt like she had to run away. So I wonder if that's how she feels, in real life.
That's a good point. Like the way I seen it, I think she feels smothered, and I immediately thought of things like paparazzi, security, but it could also be relationships or the people you're in business with, like feel smothered and someone's like always on top of you. It could be even like a romantic relationship where someone's really clingy to the point where they just want to be with you all the time, but they end up making you feel like you're being suffocated.
I understand that, but to choose out of all things to have like cops, like I feel like that's another level, almost as if it's relating to like the law, if that makes sense.
I see. Yeah, it could be.
Vampire.
And then